So for our first project, you're going to need some scrap paper. I'm using some scrap paper that I already used. You're going to need one of these wooden pieces from the Dollar Tree, some paint, a heart from this wall decor piece from the Dollar Tree, and I'm first going to start out by painting this wooden plaque black. Once I have that painted black, I'm going to take one of these hearts off this wall hanging decor piece, and I'm going to cover it in scrapbook paper. Now that's what you should have once you have it covered in scrapbook paper, and we're just going to hot glue it onto that wooden piece that we painted black. You just want to make sure that it's centered. And now we're just going to make a stand for this so that it can stand up, and I'm just going to use some tower tumbling blocks for that. And once we have those glued on, this project's complete. Now for our next project, you're going to need some black paint, some red paint, or any color of your choice, chalkboard tags that I got from the Dollar Tree, a Santa bucket, or you can actually get floral pots now, some floral foam, some greenery, and that's it. So we're going to start out by taking this, I don't know what this is, like part of the Santa Claus outfit off, and we're going to give this, I had to do 2 or 3 coats of red paint on this to cover most of it up. You could keep it red, but that wasn't the color red I was looking for, so I wanted to use my own red. And now I'm just going to go back over this with some black ink, because you could kind of see through the paint. And I'm going to give it a fresh look. Now once that dries, I'm also going to down the front of this. Now if you get a regular flower pot, you won't have to do this. But I actually wanted to do this, because I wanted some kind of design to be on this. Because everything that's going on this tier tray is going to be red or black. Red and black, and so yeah, I'm just doing this. I'm painting just a little block design on the front with my black Waverly chalk paint ink. Now I'm just going to go over the wooden chalkboard heart with my red paint. And once that's dry, I had first originally thought I wanted some of these stickers on my heart. So I got these stickers from the Dollar Tree, and I wanted the word love on there. But I did end up changing this. I didn't like the way it looked on the heart, so I did end up taking that off. And now I'm just taking some jute twine, and I'm going to wrap it like 5 or 10 times around the bucket. And now I'm just going to tie the heart onto that jute twine so that it's hanging off the bucket. And once I have that tied down, I'm actually going to glue the heart to the bucket so that it doesn't go anywhere. Now I'm just going to make one of my jute twine bows. It's just a simple bow, and I'm going to glue that on top. And here I am. This is when I've decided that I didn't like the word love on there, so I peeled it off. And I ended up attaching a pink felt heart to the center of that. Then I just filled my bucket with some floral foam, and I'm just putting some greenery around the bucket. Now I'm taking this Christmas gnome that I bought for Christmas from the Dollar Tree, and we're going to use it as a Valentine's gnome. So I just glued it onto the floral foam in the center, and I'm just going to put some of these white rocks, also from the Dollar Tree, around the gnome, because you know, gnomes are in grass, they're in rocks. You know, I thought it was kind of a cool idea. And once I have the rocks put in there, I'm gonna glue this red glitter heart onto the gnome's beard. And once I do that, that makes this project complete. Let me know what you think. Leave me a comment in the comments below and give me a big thumbs up. For this project, I'm going to be using a chalk marker, which you can also use just regular chalk if you don't have a chalk marker, or you can use paint or stickers. Wooden arrow from the Dollar Tree, it's the shorter, chunkier ones. Deco art chalk paint in Romance, and a printable that I printed out on my Cricut that says Kissing Booth, and it has little lips on it. What I'm going to first start out doing is I'm just going to remove this hanger because I'm not going to really need it because it's going on my tier tray. But I will save the twine because we'll use it for something else. And I'm just going to take some of the spackling and I'm going to fill in those holes, or you could use wood filler, whatever you have on hand. This is just easier for me to get. So this is what I use, and then once it dries, I'm just going to sand it down, and then you won't be able to see the holes when we paint it. And now I'm just going to give this wooden arrow a couple coats of this Deco Art chalky finish in the color Romance. And I'm going to paint both sides, and don't forget the edges. Okay, once we have it painted and all the paint's dry, I'm going to take my chalk marker and we're just going to outline it. We're going to stitch it. And that way it'll match the chalkboard heart that we're also going to put on it. And all I do with my stitching is just stitch. I don't know how else to explain it. Just make little dashes. And that's what you should have. And then I'll just go back over those. Now I'm just going to take that same chalkboard marker. We're going to take our chalkboard heart that we got from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to put 25. Now, while I'm letting all that dry, I'm going to transfer the Cricut printable that we printed out on Design Space. It says Kissing Booth, and I'm just going to put that right here on the arrow. There's what we should have when we have that, after we have that transferred. A little of my transfer tape pulled up some of the paint, so I'm just going to have to fix that. And I noticed that my chalk marker kind of soaked through, so I'm going to go back over that. So now I'm just going to take some hot glue and glue that heart down, and that makes this project done. Ready for my tier tray. So for my next tier tray project, I'm using one of these small table decor pieces. Yeah, they still do have these at the Dollar Tree. They actually have several of them. I'm going to use one of those wooden chalk hearts that I just used in the last DIY, and 2 felt hearts, so we're going from larger to smaller. Some Waverly chalk paint ink, some school glue, Mod Podge, or hot glue, whatever you prefer, some red cardstock, and some foam pop-up tape. So what we're first going to do is pop off the rooster, which I already did here, because we're not going to need that. But I will save it in case I want to use it for something else. Never throw anything away. I think that's a lot of my hoarding problem. And I'm going to give this a fresh coat of paint because I don't want it white. So I'm going to use the Waverly chalk paint in black or ink, whatever the fancy name is they want to call it. And I'm just going to give the inside and outside a fresh coat of paint. Okay, once that's dry really well, I'm going to take a pencil and I'm just going to outline what I need to outline to cut out the scrapbook paper. So once I have that cut down to size, I'm going to take my school glue and I'm going to just spread the love. And then I'm just going to put it down in there. Make sure I got even. Then once I have the paper laid down, I am going to take a piece of, well actually I'm going to take a couple pieces of my pop-up foam tape. And I'm going to put that on my chalkboard heart. And peel off the backing. And then center it. What that tape does is it just kind of brings that a little more forward. I'm not worried about it coming off. I don't want to hot glue it down. I mean, it's going to stick onto that paper, as you can see. So you won't even have to have any hot glue for this project. Then I'm going, well, yeah, I'm going to take the red heart and I'm going to put a piece of foam tape on it. I'm going to put it in the center of the black heart, like so. And then I'm going to take more of the pop-up foam tape. And yeah, I'll have to cut it down for this one. So, I'm going to actually cut this one in half because that heart's so small. Here's what we should have so far. And I'm going to take some jute cord and make me a small bow. And I'm just going to put a little dab of hot glue right there in that hole of the heart. Kind of like above it, because we just want to kind of hide that hole. Put our bow on there. And it kind of hides the hole. And that makes this one complete, and it's ready for our tier tray. If you want to, which I thought about, you could go around with some stitching around the box. Let's actually do that. This time I'm going to use my paint marker, and hopefully the stitching will show up better. So I'm going to use my acrylic paint marker. Okay. Just like that. There we go. That's what it needed. Now we're ready for the tier tray. For our next tier tray project, I'm going to be using one of these wooden house pieces that you can get from the Dollar Tree, a felt white heart, some more of the foam pop-up tape. I printed this out on my Cricut canvas, and so they built a life they loved, and Waverly chalk paint and ink. So we're going to first start out by painting our house black, and you want to make sure you get all the edges. I'm not going to worry about getting the bottom because you're not going to really see that. It's just going to be standing up. But I am going to do the front and the back. And this is one of those projects that you could set out all year round, even when you're done with your Valentine tier tray if you wanted to. I'm actually using removable vinyl so that I can easily take that off if I want to switch out what it says. So yeah, this is something you'll be able to use year round in your house if you want to. Okay, so once we have this painted on both sides and the edges, I didn't paint the bottom because, like I said, it's just going to be standing up on the tier tray. You're not going to be able to see it. I'm going to take the printable I printed out on Cricut Canvas Design Space, and we're just going to transfer it onto the house. There's what we have so far. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my foam heart, my white, and I'm just going to leave it like it is because I like the felt. I'm going to take a couple of the pop-up squares of tape, and these do have sticky backs to them, but I just want the heart sticking up a little, you know, I want the heart popping up from the piece. So I'm going to go ahead and use my foam sticky tape on them. I only need one. I don't know why I grabbed two. And you just peel the back off, and we're just going to stick it through. Kind of center it. Like so. Now, I don't like how you can see the pop-up tape, so I'm going to make a little, one of my twine bows, and we're just going to put it right there, and it's going to hide that pop-up foam tape in the middle. Okay, for our next project, you're going to need some baby pink paint. Well, these are the paints I'm going to be using, and you can use whatever paints you want to use for your project. Apple Barrel White, Waverly Chalk Paint ink, and Deco Art in Romance. You're going to need 16 of these wood cubes that you can get from the Dollar Tree. Some felt hearts, you're going to need 4. I have different sizes laid out. Then you're going to need 4 of these wooden planks that you can get from the Dollar Tree. And we're going to cut those 4 into 3.5-inch squares, which would be center because they're each 7 inches long. So we're going to cut those in half at 3.5 inches. Once we have all of our pieces cut, this is what you should be left with. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to glue all of these together in sets of 2s so that I just have a thicker piece of wood. You can skip this step if you already have some wood that will stand up on its own, but I don't. I wanted a thicker piece of wood anyways for this project, so that's why we are doing it this way. Now my next step was, after I got all those glued together, I decided to fill the cracks and edges with some lightweight spackling, or you could use some wood filler. And once that dries, we're going to sand them down, and then we're going to move on to the next step. In there, and we got all of our cracks covered up. This is what we should have. I went ahead and sanded down all the pieces. Now I know they're not all perfectly square, but that's okay. It's not going to matter if they look alike. And I rounded off the edges when I sanded also, so that the edges could be just cut around, but that's going to be up to you, your preference. So I'm going to start out with painting one of them in baby pink, and I'm going to make sure I get both sides. And then the other colors I will be using is Romance Red, Waverly in Ink, and Apple Barrel in White. So we're going to paint one red, one black, and one white. And then of course we got our pink here drying. So once we have that done, we'll move on to the next step. Now here's what our pieces should look like once we have them painted. We should have red, black, white, and pink. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these cubes and a Sharpie marker, and we're gonna write out some phrases that I wanna put on these. So I wrote me out a list because I don't know about you guys, but I can never remember on the Scrabble game like how much each letter's worth. So these are the sayings I'm going to use on each one of my blocks and the point letter for the Scrabble word. So XOXO, kiss me, be mine, and love. So I'm going to start out with XOXO, and I'm just going to take one of my little blocks here, and I'm just going to make an X. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then I'm going to make an 8. Just like that. Then my next one's going to be an O, and we'll make a 1. Then another X. Eight. Then another O. 1. Once we have all those done, we're going to start gluing them to our wooden pieces. The pink. And I'm going to put Kiss Me on there. So I'm just going to kind of line them up where I want them. I'm just going to hot glue those on there. And we'll start with the bottom so that I can get them lined up. So now that we have all of our letters, we're going to take some of these hearts that we picked out and figure out what hearts would look best on which piece. I like that one there. So these you can get at the Dollar Tree. They're actually still out right now. And they're just little foam hearts that just have sticky backs, and these things actually stick really good, so I'm not even going to use any hot glue. I'm just going to center that onto my piece and stick it down. Now with this one, because I don't want an extra white one, I'm going to paint it with my marker? Marky, about said Marky. I'm gonna paint it with my Sharpie because I want a black heart. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some buttons and I'm gonna glue them to the center of the hearts. I got these buttons from Dollar Tree. If you haven't seen that Dollar Tree haul, I'll post it up in the cards above. So now I'm just going to take that same Sharpie marker and I'm going to do some stitching on the sides. So I'm just going to take on this pink one, since it matches the heart, and I'm just going to do some black stitching. Now I am going to take a pink one and we're going to do the pink around the white. And for that I got to use a paint pen because I don't have a pink Sharpie. Then I'm going to take a white paint pen and go around the red. And I bet you can't guess what's next. The red paint pen. Once you have the stitching done, that makes this tier tray project complete.